Welcome to my channel. Time for Bitcoin. Let's take a closer look at what CZ, owner of Binance, thinks about the whole case with the collapse of the FTX exchange. I think his opinion on this topic is very interesting. In this interview, he also talks about his relationship with Sam.
Sorry, you talked about AML and KYC. This has to do with trying to prevent money laundering and the like. As you know, there have been reports about investigations about money laundering through Binance related to Iran. Nirav Rabini took to the stage where you are and made that comment, and just in the past day. I'm curious the state of that investigation and if you can speak to it.
Number one, that report written by Reuters is wrong. It was fed to Reuters by a website called currency.com. Currency.com used to be a Russian-owned website. I think FTX bought a part of the equity there. We do believe that currency.com gave Reuters that access to a platform that given some wrong data. We use all the industry common platforms like chain analysis, elliptic, TRM for transaction monitoring. It's the same tools used by law enforcement. And we are very confident that our practices comply with the industry requirements. And the Reuters article is misleading. And Rubini, I would just say he tried to become famous by attacking everybody. That's all he does, and I don't think what he says carries much weight.
CZ, Sam Bankman-Fried has said that it was not a good strategic move on his part to get in this battle with you. He says he regrets it because obviously it helped reveal the issues with FTX that led to the collapse of all of this. Do you regret that feud?
We were never in a battle with him. He may think he's in a battle with us. We didn't even notice. We did hear some concerns about him bad mouthing us behind our backs in DC, in other political lobbying circles. We just said, look, we don't want to be entangled. We just want to exit our equity portion. We did that a year and a half ago, and as part of that transaction, we got some FTT tokens. And recently, with the news of them becoming insolvent, carried by CoinDesk first, we just said, well, we want to sell those tokens. That's all we did. We were never against them. We don't focus on other smaller exchanges. Focusing our energy there doesn't give us the best return. If we take customers away from them, we may grow by 1 or 0.1%. Whereas if we can help grow the industry, we can grow by 5x, 10x, 100x. So we are much more focused on how to grow the industry more healthily together with other exchanges. So we never view them as a competition or as a fight. He may have that in his head, but we were never focused on. Yeah, so I'm very shocked that I obviously did not know him until about a week or so ago. So I'm just shocked. I'm shocked that he lied to everybody.
You didn't know him till a week ago?
I didn't know what kind of person. I didn't know that he lied to everybody until a week ago.
So CZ, just getting back to just what this means for the future of just crypto in general. A lot of people have said there's Bitcoin and Ethereum and there's everything else. I know you've probably heard that. Do you think this was some type of inevitable shakeout that we're seeing? And do you still think these 21 million by the year, I don't know when we finally get the last Bitcoin mined, but you can, with stock to flow models, you can still make a $50,000, $100,000 a coin forecast. Do you think those eventually come true, or is this just one big house of cards across the board, CZ? And I'm sure that you don't think it's a house of cards, but do we push the time frame out for when it happens?
I think, well, first of all, as you said, I don't think it's a house of cards. There are fundamental technologies that are much better than the tools we had to transact, to raise money, to do global payments, etc. So there's fundamental technologies that are much better than the tools we had before. So it's definitely not a house of cards. At the same time, I'm not very good at price predictions. I don't do those things. I think there are smarter people out there that seem to have some formula to predict it, and I don't believe those things anyway. So I think fundamentally, though, if you look at the industry 5 years, 10 years from now, the industry will be much, much bigger. I don't know what's going to happen to the Bitcoin price. Bitcoin is a limited supply. I also do not think that Bitcoin and Ethereum are the only two coins that will benefit. We're very far from a one coin take all kind of market. There's still many innovations on different blockchains, different projects, etc. So actually today, one of the largest businesses are not the blockchain businesses. They're actually exchanges. So yeah, so I think we're early in the industry. This incident will set us back a bit, but then the industry will become healthier. So it's actually better in the long run.
CZ, can we just talk about regulation for a second? And by the way, there were some comments. I don't know if you read Sam Bankman-Fried's DMs in this Vox interview overnight, where he effectively says, he was going in saying he wanted regulation, and then says, well, actually, the regulators can't do anything, and they can't protect the customers. You've spoken, I think, historically, saying that you never really thought you'd ever, sort of come on board to a sort of a U.S. system. You obviously are based abroad. There's a lot of questions right now about, whether regulations could have avoided this, could have protected folks from this. What do you think? Well,
first of all, we very much embrace regulations in the U.S. Binance U.S. is an entity set up in the U.S. It has 44 state licenses, and of which 10 or 12 of them were acquired in the were granted in the last year. So Binance US is definitely embracing the US regulations, and Binance.com is embracing regulations all around the world. So that has always been our philosophy. I think regulations could minimize some of the problems, but when a person lies, when there's a bad player that just want to do bad things, regulations doesn't prevent it. Banning guns doesn't mean that no one will just take a gun and shoot somebody. That's just one person going crazy or lying or just a bad player. So I think regulations will help, but it will not eliminate this problem. So we shouldn't blame this problem on any single person other than Sam. But everybody in the industry do share a bit of responsibility.
He used the phrase F regulators, by the way, which I thought was shocking.
I got a call from Sam 48 hours after I made the tweet, and then he wanted to talk. So at the beginning, I thought he just wanted to, do a buyout do an OTC deal to buy out the FTT tokens we had. And then he wanted actually a buyout of the entire firm, of the entire FTX platform. And then, but then we got our team on it. It was pretty clear pretty soon that there's, there's misappropriation of user funds. The user funds are gone. At that point, it's clearly that he lied to his users, his investors, his VC investors, his employees. At that point, I thought I couldn't, whatever data that's in the data room, we couldn't trust anymore. So it was quite hard for us to do that due diligence. So we didn't go very far.
We've all seen his tweets now overnight. Do you think he understood what he was doing?
I think he thought he understood. I think he probably still thinks he understands what he's doing now, which I don't think he should be tweeting.
That's for sure. But in terms of intent, I mean, one of the things that's going to be looked at, I'm sure, by regulators, potentially by prosecutors, is what he intended to do. He seems to suggest in a lot of these tweets that he didn't understand, or he mismarked things. And when I say mismarked things, mislabeled things is what I think is the phrase that he's used. And yet, when you looked under the books, clearly it appears that he was demonstrably commingling funds, using the funds to leverage himself up and the like.
Yeah, I think, look, I didn't do the due diligence myself, but I think you'll be very, very clear that Sam knows that he was using the user funds to do trading for Alameda, and he has been probably doing this for quite a while that nobody else knew until very recently. Well, a small number of people in FTX probably knew, but most of the other normal employees probably did not know. I think that's probably the most likely situation.
One of the things that I think this has demonstrated to the public about crypto is just how leveraged the business is, how so many of these coins, that FTT token and other tokens have been used to leverage other tokens. How concerned are you about that? And how much leverage is in the Binance system, if you will?
Sure. So I think we are very concerned about anybody using the token they create for leverage, as a collateral. At Binance, we don't do that. We don't use BNB as collateral for anything we do. So it's very simple. Yeah.
But when you think about the health of the quote-unquote balance sheet of so many of these firms in the crypto space, in the ecosystem, how much of those balance sheets do you think are actual fiat currency that has some stability versus some kind of token or other kind of cryptocurrency that may or may not actually have the value that it portends to have, in part because the float of some of these tokens is so low that it appears the other piece of it is that some people are almost artificially inflating the valuations of these things?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple things here. There's the user assets. You should every exchange should just hold the user assets as is, as chosen by the users, whatever assets they want to allocate to. There's the operational funds for the business itself. That should be in a combination of cryptocurrencies, stable coins, and maybe even some fiat currencies. Every different business can allocate that differently, depending on their risk appetite and the business model. Binance has always been profitable. So even today, we're profitable, we're sustainable. But our rough allocation is about a third in stable coins and then a third in some of the larger coins. And also, we keep the BNB coin that we hold very separately in our accounting. And this has been in our financial reports even from very early days. So we always keep the BNB separate in terms of accounting for the cash flows we have. We do believe that many other platforms may include this as their cash reserves, which is and when they present to potential investors, etc., that may be somewhat risky or misleading. So we don't do that. We have records of our financial statements from very early days. We have always kept BNB separate.
Let me know in the comments what do you think about this interview and if you picture CZ as the hero or villain in this whole story. Or maybe it can't be painted black and white. Thank you for staying until the end. Please like and subscribe if you appreciate my work.